So I'm scrolling through Instagram one day and I see this recommended video of a woman laying down getting holes burned into her face. And naturally, I was like, what the hell is this? And do I want it? Apparently there is a trend called fibroblast skin tightening that has been around for a little while, but people are just starting to learn about it. And as I started to look more and more into this, I kind of got intrigued, then concerned, then intrigued again. And I specifically want to talk about what this treatment is for aging, wrinkles, and scars, and whether or not it works, specifically from a scientific perspective by looking at some of the data as opposed to just what people are posting. Because if your skin treatment actually works, why do you need to Photoshop the after photo? You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get to how to figure out if someone is selling you an altered after image just to take your money. So a little word of warning, this video may have graphic content for those who are scared of it or if you have a fear of holes. But on the flip side, that also means that if you're into nasty stuff like me, you're gonna love it. So let's get started. First off, here is an example of this fibroblast skin tightening. This seems to be done in Australia where rules and regulations may be different, but might I say, wherever you are in the world, I don't think it's okay to have your thumbnail poking through your glove. I don't think that's sanitary. That looks like it's breaking safety and health procedures. But as you can see, this therapy is essentially burning small holes into the skin. And the idea is that this therapy stimulates the fibroblast production within our skin, a natural healing process that can get rid of wrinkles, that can get rid of fine lines, that can help with scars, that can actually lift the skin. It does seem like this fibroblast plasma treatment has been used to actually do a lip flip. So it's kind of like lip injections without ever getting an injection. But again, the question is this actually safe? What is actually happening, and is it actually backed up by science? Because most of the information that I can find on this was written or is being spread by the companies who are actually benefiting financially from it. So let's dig into this, why don't we? To understand how this treatment works, you have to understand how the skin works. And if you've been on this channel for a while, you know about the different layers of the epidermis and the dermis. But for those who don't, our skin is not just one coating that covers our body. It is made up of multiple layers and structures. Everything's from sudoriferous glands that help us sweat to nerve endings, which help us feel, and of course, sebaceous glands, which produce the oil that greases up our skin and gives many of us acne. But as you can see with these multiple layers, the top ones are a lot smaller. They're considered the epidermis, epi meaning on top and dermis meaning skin. And on the bottom is the dermis, the true skin, which can be broken down into two layers. Now, the dermis itself is where a lot of damage happens, but where a lot of healing also happens. In the dermis is where you have a lot of blood vessels, and those are what connects your skin to blood, which transports oxygen, nutrients, different immune cells, so that when you get cut or when you get a wound, your body can heal. Now, the dermis is also where collagen and elastin are held. You've probably heard of those, and it's because as we get older, we lose collagen and elastin. It's because when we go out into the sun and get UV damage, that damages our collagen and elastin. And if you don't eat well, or you get plastered on the weekends, or you're super stressed out, or you're like me and you pull 2 all-nighters in 1 week, obviously, that can also damage your collagen and elastin and stop your skin from looking plump and supple. So especially for those who do have concerns about aging skin, usually that's crow's feet, maybe smile lines, wrinkles by the eyes or the skin, even if you have acne scars and things like that, being able to rebuild the collagen and the elastin in your skin can help to rebuild that youthful appearance. And just a disclaimer, I say all of this in air quotes because people think I'm crazy, but I actually think wrinkles are beautiful. I see them as examples of people who have lived and laughed and loved within their lives and spent time outdoors and spent enough time smiling. But that's a video for another day. But so naturally, if we could stimulate this collagen and elastin within our own skin and have our body create more of it, we can therefore plump up the skin and decrease wrinkles and fine lines and scars, right? That's what a lot of therapies on the counter are actually doing. A lot of the AHA acids that you're using, or the peptide serums that you might be using, or the chemical peels, or the laser treatments that are being used are targeting this area of the skin to make sure that this process happens. A fibroblast is a specific type of skin cell that's inside of our skin, and it's the one that's responsible for creating this collagen and elastin. So therefore, if we can stimulate those little guys, maybe they'll produce more of this really good rubber band-like stuff and help keep our skin looking young and fresh. So this Fibroblast skin tightening seems to be another attempt at doing this. And as you can see, they're doing this on stretch marks and other parts of the body, etc. But just because we're trying to get this to stimulate our skin, how does this device work? The closest that I would compare this to seems to be like a very low-level laser or a very low-level microneedle. Lasers have been used in medicine for years, and it takes a licensed doctor or nurse practitioner to administer laser treatments. Now, things might be different in different countries. I am based in California. I know the laws and regulations within California, but not elsewhere, so please just keep that in mind. If you do not hold an MD, a nursing license, a nurse practitioner's license, or a medical degree, you cannot pierce into the skin. You cannot pierce into the dermis. You're only licensed to work on the upper layers of the dermis, otherwise known as the epidermis. And that's where this kind of gets tricky, because is this treatment actually penetrating into the dermis or not? Now, I did read an article from Pop Sugar written by Kirby Johnson. She is one of the best informational sources on beauty. She is non-biased and honest. I love her. And she interviewed someone in Sweden, and the article seemed to say that this treatment does not penetrate into the dermis. So this would only be epidermal. And that could be, but the way I'm looking at it is that it looks like this is cauterizing tissue, which would mean that it is potentially reaching to the dermis, and that unless you had a medical license or degree, you shouldn't be performing this, or you shouldn't have this performed on you unless someone is actually licensed. And again, back to this woman with a hole in her glove, that I cannot imagine is licensed anywhere. So this is again a safety and regulatory concern for me, who's also wondering about the legitimacy of some of these claims, and also the intensity of this treatment. Speak the English. The way microneedling therapy works is by putting tiny needles in the skin, and it's going deep enough to stimulate the skin so the skin says, hey, we need to build this back up. It builds micronized scar tissue essentially in the skin, which can plump the skin up and make it look tighter or firmer. Lasers, again, by a medical professional, are also different. And there is plasma technology, which I have tried in the past and has been great for moisturizing the skin and creating like a supple glow. But the plasma therapy that I tried was a handheld device that used ions, not something that actually pierced into the skin. So they're saying that this is a plasma device that does that. So then we have to talk about, well, what is plasma? Plasma is a state of matter. And because we live on planet Earth, we're very familiar with the 3 states of matter: solids, liquids, and gases. But there is a 4th state of matter called plasma. This has nothing to do with blood. It's not blood plasma, but it's basically, think of it as like electron soup. You know that everything around us is made up of matter. And how do we know what things are made up of? We can see those little packets, those little elements, and figure out what they are. And that's how we know that water can be a solid, a liquid, and a gas. Well, there can also be plasma. And plasma is this really special state where atoms basically lose their identity. And it's just this soup of electrons swimming around and not really being identified. And the only place that it happens here on Earth is like thunderstorms, but it happens a ton in outer space with like supernovas and black holes and that kind of shit. Astrophysics, cool, right? It's the idea that this device creates plasma or creates ions, which creates heat to the skin, causes that micro damage, which promotes the skin to heal and lift. This sounds really good in theory, but the question is, does the science back it up? And this is where it gets difficult. I tried to do a little bit of digging to find out if this actually works from a scientific perspective. And what's difficult for me is that I wasn't really able to find any non-biased medical data. Now, please keep in mind, I searched for less than 3 hours and I really just looked on PubMed. I didn't do, a library analysis because it's the weekend and I'm not near a medical library right now. I did find a couple different articles concerning laser therapy. And again, from the last 10 years in cosmetic medicine, we know that lasers work and we know that they're used for a variety of reasons. But again, this device is not a laser. This is a plasma fibroblast technology. There were a couple of different things that I found on plasma, specifically this J plasma for skin contouring, but something I want you to look at is that every single one of these mentions a very specific brand, and when you look into the article and you actually look at the conflicts of interest, you notice that the people who are writing or conducting these articles are either working at a plastic and aesthetic laser center, or they could financially benefit from selling these kinds of services. So it really makes you wonder, are any of these studies actually legitimate? Here again we have subdermal skin tightening, but this article and this research was funded and created by the Department of Facial and Plastic Surgery. And it was really hard for me to find anything that was non-biased on this specific technology. Again, that doesn't mean it doesn't work, it just means that for myself personally, I'm not going to be doing this until I learn a little bit more about it, see more before and afters, and speak to a licensed dermatologist or medical professional, and preferably a bioengineer, to figure out what's actually going on and if this is actually safe and effective. What's also interesting is that I found a lot of information online where people are actually selling these devices over the counter. And I don't know how well these devices work. They're like $300, but it's basically like, oh, you can do this at home. And again, I only know state of California legislation and safety, but this is not something that you should be doing at home. And the reason why is because this is not for everybody. If you've ever had a keloid scar, or if you've ever seen one, they're these big lumps of tissue that form up after someone gets a wound. That's someone's body being too good at producing collagen and elastin. And they end up getting these large bumps that have to be removed or really scar them for life, both literally and emotionally. Someone who is prone to keloid scarring should not be touching this device. Someone who is also prone to pigmentation, if they're like a 4, a 5, or a 6 on the Fitzpatrick scale, the photosensitivity scale, they might be a little bit more prone to having damage to the skin that lasts permanently by patches of melanin or patches of discoloration. And again, this is the natural skin response, the skin doing what it's supposed to do in response to things like UV damage. But if we're artificially damaging the skin with one of these treatments, and this happens to someone who is prone to getting that kind of discoloration, that person could end up leaving with a skin condition that is more damaging and more upsetting to their identity and image than the small wrinkle or the unpuffy upper lip would have ever been. And again, if you don't have a license for these things, or if you don't know these things, people can buy this stuff online, or you can just walk into a clinic where someone looked this up and decided to start performing it out of their back room, and it could cause a lot of damage to people. Now, it does take time to create these medical studies. It takes a lot of dedication and money. So I understand if medical studies aren't available yet. But the other thing we can do is look at before and after pictures, and this is where I get suspicious. They don't actually show you before and afters. They show you the before with the wrinkles or the issue, and then they show you the treatment, which is again, these really dramatic looking bloody cauterized holes. But where's the after? If this treatment works so well, sure, show me the beginning and the treatment and the after. But obviously this just looks shocking. And of course, that's how things on social media spread these days, but that doesn't mean that they're all legit. And when we do look at some of the ones that actually show the before, the middle, and the after, you'll notice in the after, this woman is wearing tons of makeup. We're not actually seeing the benefit to the skin. Or if we look at some of the other afters, the lighting has completely changed. Fun experiment. Go ahead and take a selfie while you're facing a wall. Then turn around and face a source of light, such as an open window. Tell me how different that selfie looks, and tell me that your mind is not blown and your selfie game is not changed forever. You can follow me on Instagram and give a few likes and a thank you, by the way. But you can totally change how wrinkles, fine lines, divots, shadows, and craters look just by lighting. And if you notice, anything that's posting the after picture, we're seeing dramatic changes in lighting. And I don't think that's fair. Also, obviously, you have to crop some of these images for social media to get them to fit into like a 4x4 square or what have you. But there is the very real possibility of someone taking this photo and literally just holding a finger like this. And you can see that if you're just taking a picture of my eye and you're not getting my hand in here, I can totally change the way my skin and my wrinkles look by just pulling up or down. I can get rid of neck wrinkles by just pulling the skin taut from the back of my neck. Yet on photos that are cropped so tightly, you can't see if that's happening. And as sickening as it is, there are some companies that want your money who might be going to these lengths to sell you a before and after image that is not the truth. The most perturbing to me are these social media posts that actually have the after image filtered. Can you see how on this example, the before has a lot of texture to the skin and you can see the skin's natural, beautiful pores? Can you see in the after image how this looks so smoothed over, you can't even see pores on her face? You can see where they literally took the Photoshop blur tool or the Facetune blur finger and just wiped over the chin. And I'm sorry, if your Fibroblast skin treatment is actually that effective, why do you need to Photoshop and Facetune your after pictures? Do you see what I'm saying? But people are going to think that this is the reality because they haven't spent their lives photoshopping things on social media, and they're going to end up going into these treatment centers paying $1,000 for a treatment. Treatments range from like $500 to $1,500 here in the Bay Area, wasting their money on a treatment that is not going to give them the results that they saw on social media. And again, because this seems to be performed by people who may not have all of the proper licensing, it's very possible that these people are not following these standards when it comes to disclosure and telling people about what to actually expect. So again, it looks intriguing, it could be exciting, but what is the actual truth behind it? Does it actually work? And where can I find a dermatologist / bioengineer who can tell me about the mechanics of this in an actual double-blind, placebo-controlled study so that us consumers can just make proper decisions with our money and our faces? Would you try this, and what do you think? And please post a comment with another device or thing that you've heard about and you want to know if it's legitimate or you want me to try. If this video helped you, please consider sending it to somebody else so it can help them, because the YouTube algorithm just doesn't like me, and you know what? I like weird things in skin, and I think that this is the kind of information that needs to be spread on social media so that people don't get swindled by these photoshopped before and after pictures. If you do want to see my experience with the plasma skin device, you can watch my 1-month journey with it here. And of course, if you're interested in more skin science, here's a video I think you will enjoy. Always remember to be beautiful inside and out, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video. Love you guys. Bye.